come in, authors, scientists, or people that are running the community, they can easily join with a simple click and connect. So we have Studio Call, which we offer. It's our own proprietary software, so no app, no login that a guest would need. And then also it works with Zoom and Teams as well. So if there's a conference going on and you need multiple participants from either one of those third-party platforms, you don't need an external device to do this. Everything is ran within the same system. When you go to higher ed, when you have panelists or industry experts, bringing people in is a simple way to send out an invite, have them connect, and they're already in the production. Audio is already set. You can configure what you want to showcase if you want multiple outputs for what these guests are seeing. If they're in a waiting room and they need to, maybe watch the program feed before they go live, all of that is simple. And with just a monitor, a computer, and internet connection, everything is kind of seamless in how you can connect virtual callers into a production.
And one of the things I love is that it is completely agnostic to the video conferencing tools being used in the school. I know in my own experiences with my kids going away to colleges, University of Arkansas is a Microsoft school, and
Hmm.
Microsoft Teams is what they use as their video conferencing platform. Ohio State University prefers Zoom.
Hmm.
Now you have the capability of sending your guests the format that they're comfortable in, or
Hmm.
a studio call link that they can join from any browser to
Hmm.
come into your production very seamlessly.
Yep. Any browser, any device. It's real interesting of the many use cases that you can do with that type of connectivity. And then also I wanted to just mention that within the Studio Edge and Studio Pro, the AI components. So you can kind of enhance your guest look without burning any channels on your system of, maybe adding a virtual background if, maybe the look isn't so proper, or you want to do some color correction to an individual guest, changing audio, providing eye contact. Anything that NVIDIA graphics card offers is also available in the system. So you can tidy up your guests, on your side, as opposed to having them make moderate changes. There's a lot that you can do within the system. So setting up production is a lot easier, especially for guests joining in. They could just hop on and be ready to go.
If you could make me look about 15 years younger, I'd be very happy with that platform. Now, Austin, we just got back from the NAB show out in Vegas, and one of the great
Mhm.
features that you guys were showing off is with the controllers that you have available for the Studio Pro platform, you've added something called integration with buttons.
Mhm.
Buttons allows you to take that controller and program it to control more than just the Studio Pro production. So in
Right.
a school environment, I could actually fire my CMS platform right from my production controller, right?
Yeah, it's that's a very cool workflow that you can do within the buttons platform. Applying a program start to start recording, start streaming. All of that can be just with one button push. Once everything's configured within your live switcher, maybe you have lights, maybe you have different types of looks in the studio that you want to control and command. All of that can be applied through these buttons, and it makes the workflows a lot more uh, intentional when there's less operators. If there
Yep.
are less operators, it gives you a lot more full control. If someone's going to be doing cameras and switching and graphics, there are buttons that you can dedicate to each of those executions. And with the multiple scenes that you can do, you can have very slight changes in looks within your scenes, but a button can configure your look to just automatically adjust to what's happening in the live production. So it's a lot easier way to follow these types of productions, with the buttons configurations that you can utilize.
Absolutely. And again, this is a brand new feature. And the great thing is with eduStreamTV, we have a nationwide network of
Hmm.
certified AV integrators and installers. So if you're looking to add the Quicklink Studio Pro platform to your video production, if you're already working with an AV integrator that set up your CMS lecture management platforms, they can come in and help configure this all together. Obviously, we have a ton of resources here. The Quicklink team is always available to help get these systems up and running and optimized in your environment.
Mhm.
Austin, I really love talking about all these different use cases. Thank you so much for joining us to talk about that.
Of course.
The products we talked about specifically today are the Studio Pro video production systems. These systems are very flexible and configurable and available in different form factors depending on what your production needs are, ranging everywhere from the Studio Pro NDI, which is going to give you your networked AV over IP connections for an NDI production studio, to the Studio Pro 3 with 3G SDI, and then your 12G SDI connections with either 8IO or 16. And there's even an ST2110 version for those schools that are getting involved in the real high-end broadcast production. Austin, with these, there are a couple of different controller options and other things available, but these platforms, these products all have some of that same build quality across the board, right?
Yeah. Every system speaks the same language to control panels and control surfaces.
Yeah.
There's two panels. There's the Fusion, which is the live or the larger panel, and then the Proton, which is the smaller one. And there's also a web interface that can be utilized for any switching, recording, and streaming. So there's multiple ways to operate. They all work in tandem. So it's a very cool type of physical interface that you can use to control the systems. And as far as the actual units themselves, they're ship ready. So in the event that for sports, in an event for you need to pack up a box and ship it in a crate to a different location to work production alongside a production truck. These boxes are rugged ready chassis, so they
Great.
can go through the brunt of moving around planes and trucks, then still come out when you plug them in. They'll turn on and be ready to work.
That's awesome. All of these units have dual power supplies, full boot operating system, media drives, you name it. You can reach out to us here at eduStreamTV. We can connect you with the system integrator and installer in your area to help you find the right Studio Pro system that's right for you. We talked about a lot of the features and capabilities across the board. These features are shared across any of the platforms. So it's
Mhm.
really choosing that right connectivity for your video production workflow, right, Austin?
Very true. I mean, depending on the size of the environment or what type of workflow you're looking for, every system speaks the same way. Bringing in your graphics if you want to do remote callers, if you want the physical connection with your cameras or NDI, we offer all of those components. Or 2110. There's various ways.
Yep, absolutely. It is a full-fledged production system. Definitely something that can help all the different use cases we talked about today in the education world. If you have any questions about Quicklink products, you can reach out to them directly at quicklink.tv, or you can reach out to us here at EduStream. We'd be happy to help you identify the right Studio Pro for your production needs. Austin, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you to Austin for joining us to tell us all about the Studio Pro and Studio Edge systems and how you can use NDI, baseband, or even ST2110 with their products to be able to run your entire program or events throughout your entire campus. Next up is a conversation that I had with John Roberts from PTZOptics, again, talking about not just their PTZ cameras, but also their fixed frame cameras. And we even get a little bit of a demo of some of their auto tracking on their PTZ cameras, as well as a hands-on demo with Hive Studio for that remote access to be able to control all of your PTZ cameras from a single place. We're going to play that interview for you now. Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us for another segment of eduStreamTV. I'm really excited to be joined by John Roberts from PTZOptics to talk about PTZOptics cameras, Hive Studio, and their entire range of just live streaming equipment, including their controllers too. John, how are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. I'm excited to talk about EDU. There's a lot to offer from the PTZOptics side and a lot to talk about, whether it's your live production, recorded production, whatever it is. Hopefully, PTZ, we have you covered here. So it's good to be here, James. Thank you so much. You guys are always a blast to do these with.
I am glad to hear that, and it's always great to have PTZOptics join us for these shows. So let's just get right into it. Why would somebody want to choose PTZOptics when they're looking at new PTZ cameras?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a lot of different PTZ cameras on the market. Why you want to focus specifically on PTZ Optics? Well, we're a US-based company. We have incredible domestic support, 5-year warranty in all of our products. Or I shouldn't say all of our products, but all of our cameras, our controllers have a 2-year warranty. And we pick up the phone. If you guys have an issue, you're setting up a camera, whatever kind of setup it is, we will help you and we'll answer that call. We'll stay on the call with you as long as we need to figure it out. So besides that, we have incredible products. We have incredible imaging. We have products that are, a value solution for anyone, or we have higher end products like 4K 60 and automation integrated into our Move 4K products. But we also make sure that our cameras are super easy. You can plug and play with all of our PTZ cameras, all of our fixed frame cameras. You can plug them in right via USB, even USB-C to bring in your video. And then all of our cameras are also PoE. So we know that education is continuing expanding. Networking is a huge part of education and setting up for AV projects. So all of our cameras can be powered over just one single cable over Ethernet. And then, of course, we're kind of seamless in terms of our integrations, and we support basically every type of switching software, hardware, every kind of output in our camera. There's a lot to offer with PTZOptics.
I couldn't agree more. Just to piggyback off of your very first statement with the US-based support team, we have direct access to you, John Roberts, but I will say, when I have a question about a PTZOptics camera, I don't even need to go to you. I just call your support. And that's how good it is. You guys pick up the phone and you answer the questions, whether it's a technical question, pre-sale, post-sale support. I cannot give you guys enough credit for your personal customer support. Before we start talking about all of the different products that are available and where they fit in different parts of the workflow, you guys have some great bundles that are going on right now with some fixed frame cameras, with some PTZ cameras, SuperJoy controller. Can you give us a high level overview of these bundles?
Yeah, absolutely. I like to start here because it kind of gives you an overview. A lot of people see PTZ in the name and they forget that we also offer fixed frame cameras. So we have a studio series, as you can see in the Flex bundle in the middle there, and then the Action bundle comes actually with 2 fixed frame cameras. I always like to mention that and show off the bundles because when you get cameras that are PTZ and robotic, you want to make sure that you have various different control options. So each of these bundles comes with a SuperJoy. That's our top of the line, really strong and well built controller. It works with even beyond our PTZ controllers. It works with almost every PTZ brand, and up to 255 presets, 255 different cameras. So that kind of gives you a really, really versatile control for all of your solutions, whether it's fixed frame or PTZ. And then we also offer options for anyone. Basically, if you have 1080p, if you just need a simple kind of plug and play with USB in a classroom, well, that's where our Move SE camera is perfect. That also has automation for auto tracking. But if you want to kind of get the next step up, then you're going to go to 4K 60 with our Move 4K cameras, and that's going to even bring you up higher for the automation. You have auto framing and a lot more customability when it comes to our automation. So I like to start there because we offer these all in a package in a bundle through you guys. So I wanted to start there with the bundles because it's the easiest way to get started.
I think that's a great way to talk about all of the different products that are available from PTZOptics. One of the things that we mentioned at the top of the show is very easy connectivity because all of your PTZ cameras have SDI, HDMI, USB support, and even some IP support. And I see that we have NDI here, but we'll also talk about some Dante support as well, correct?
That is right. Yeah. So we have Dante support besides the NDI. You can stream out RTSP, you can stream out SRT, you can stream out an RTMP feed directly live to a social platform or a live platform if you want, directly from our camera. So it's more than just a camera, it's more than just a tool. It's really has a brain inside of the camera, and that's where the robotics and the video all come together and make a beautiful mix.
Absolutely. And we're talking about throughout eduStreamTV, we've been talking about NDI a lot. And I think that it's great that we want to talk about the Link 4K because that focuses on Dante AV. Can you explain a little bit about Dante AV and where the Link 4K fits into this workflow?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Link 4K is not an NDI camera. It's actually supported with Dante AVH, as you mentioned. So that allows you to integrate across a large scale. Usually it's deployed in multiple classrooms and auditoriums. And we recently worked with a university, Vanderbilt, who deployed around 100 Link 4Ks across their entire campus. So there's a really great interview that we did with Vanderbilt that kind of describes the whole deployment and how successful it was. And it really just shows not only is Dante growing, but people want video now with Dante. And that's offered for our Link 4K cameras. It comes in 12x, 20x, or 30x zoom options. And that really makes it so much easier to just add video right into your Dante ecosystem if you already have that set up.
I think that's a good point to mention too, that even with the 1080s, Move SE series and the Move 4Ks, you guys really do make it pretty easy to decide which camera to go with. You have a 12x, a 20x, and a 30x model. And then you have a 1080 camera, you have a 4K camera, and you have a Dante 4K camera. So it really is kind of easy to figure out which camera is correct. Speaking of making things easy, can you tell us a little bit about Horizon?
Yeah, so Horizon is our latest web interface. If you don't know, IP controlled cameras like our PTZOptics cameras and even our fixed frame cameras, they allow you to connect to our cameras to control the image and control the PTZ movements and control basically every setting and output from our cameras. So we've worked really hard over the last couple of years to make a brand new web interface. It's completely developed by us, our awesome software team here in Downingtown, Pennsylvania. And they've worked really hard to make a really incredible new interface for our 4K cameras like the Link 4K and the Move 4K. So we're actively working. This is a free update. All you need to do is enter your IP address like you're used to and then /Horizon, and you can get to this new beta firmware. Now, this allows you to have a mobile friendly interface. So you can open up on an iPad, you can open up on an iPhone, and you can even zoom in and move around in the interface and create presets. So on the left side there, you can see what the original web UI was like, where you weren't able to crop and move around. You were restricted. You couldn't even access some of the settings in the web pages if you were on mobile. But now with Horizon, it's completely adaptive. You have all new custom control settings, so you can customize your control even more and fine tune it. And then we have these awesome new cinematic tools where you can use your finger on the iPad or an Android device to move your camera. So it's making it easier than ever to control your cameras, and that's really perfect for when you involve kids in a production, whether it's
Yep.
your morning announcements, sports, or auditorium productions. There's a lot that you can do with Horizon now, and it's completely free.
Yeah, I think that's a great thing to mention, especially because we know that students are running morning announcements, sports productions, theatrical plays, sometimes even school auditorium things whenever there's an event. And if you can just give them a phone or a tablet and they can just start playing with it, it makes
Yep.
them their eyes light up.
Yep.
Another great thing about all of the PTZOptics cameras is they're compatible with whatever kind of video conferencing systems you want to use too, such as Zoom or Teams or Skype, right?
That's right. We're using a Studio 4K right now, which, if you don't know, we're over Zoom, and we're using this awesome little fixed frame camera here, which is directly powered over Ethernet. And that allows us to bring it right into Zoom. And if we have a PTZ camera that you brought into Zoom, you can actually use a Zoom plugin and move our PTZ cameras around. So this makes it really easy if you have a meeting space in a school or a conference room that you need to meet. Maybe you have principals and vice principals that need to meet on a regular basis. I know my wife works in education as a speech language pathologist, and there's often what she calls IEPs, which are the individual education plan, and those need to be recorded and documented a lot of times. So that's where a lot of PTZ cameras come in, or a fixed frame camera if you don't need the movement. So we're kind of adaptive and open for every platform, whether it's Teams, Skype, Zoom. Google Meet is also a great option.
To piggyback off of you using a studio fixed frame camera right now, I will raise us using a Move 4K right now for our feed. So
That's an honor. That's an honor. Absolutely.
So tell us about some of the classroom automations that can be implemented with these PTZOptics cameras.
Yeah, that's a great question. So we have automation on both our 1080p model, the Move SE, and then even better automation on our Move 4K. That's our flagship camera that it really allows you to kind of customize and fine tune your tracking, whether it's just your standard tracking or my favorite, which is auto framing, which kind of zooms in and out depending on where you are in the space, and it allows for really dynamic and flexible tracking. So I can even actually switch over to a different camera here that I have in the studio and show a little tracking. I just got to take my headphones off, so I won't be able to hear you, but I'll be right back.
That's all right. I will talk as you stand up. So as John Robert stands up and walks around, you can clearly see that he's being tracked. And it is very smooth, as if this is a camera operator. And he is just walking all around their studio. He's waving, he's going behind objects, and the camera is smoothly tracking him. The other thing that I want to point out is that it's auto framing as he's walking around too. So, John, that was really cool.
Yeah, so that's auto framing on the Move 4K. I love auto framing because it feels, I think, the most naturalistic to a camera operator. So what it does is it'll follow me, it'll continue zooming in and out, and if you have multiple people in the frame, it'll continue to frame however many people you have in your frame. So it makes it really easy to dynamically kind of move and have a larger group and track that larger group, or just make it feel really natural. But we of course have custom different control options. You can even use zoom with a SuperJoy and even control the zoom levels while you're auto tracking. So there's so much flexibility with any of our cameras, really.
There's so many different ways to control a camera. Now, let's go through a workflow example here, and this is going to be a very basic example, but still a very important example. This would
Yep.
be a layout perfect for like a lecture capture. A teacher walks into the room and they want to be able to record their lesson for the day. Can you walk us through how simple this kind of setup is?
Yeah, that's right. So if you have a computer that's built into the classroom, easy. If you have a laptop that a professor or an educator is walking in with, she can easily or he can easily plug it in right to the USB-C if you're using the Move SE, or 2.0 if you're using a Move 4K. You can either power it over your network or you could DC power it. In this case, it's just one simple cable to the computer and to the camera. And then you see the Wi-Fi to the smartphone. You can either use our incredible PTZ control app, the Pro 2 control app, or now Horizon is adaptive on mobile devices. So she could even take her phone out. He or she, the teacher, could take their phone out, hit a preset right on their phone, and zoom in right where they want to, or enable automation or auto tracking right from her phone. So this is a simple and easy one camera solution that's just going to make it so easy. If you want the IT department to control it, they can. If you want the teacher to have full access, she can. It's really about being flexible, and that's what we are here at PTZOptics.
I couldn't agree more. Now, we talked at the beginning of the show about some of the different ways that you can do live streaming in an educational space, and one of them is morning announcements. This is a really easy way for you to get students involved in all aspects of the production, correct?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And it's basically what we're doing here right now. It's creating little webinars, it's creating a show, really.
Yep.
Every day, whether it's in elementary school, middle school, or high school, and especially in colleges, there's full-on productions being made. And, video is not going anywhere, robotics and PTZ cameras aren't going anywhere. So to get people in and understand what it's like to run a production, what it's like to make a schedule and make a script and have talent on camera, and then the video aspect of it all and the audio aspect of it all, it's a huge learning curve. And we really try to make it easy. It's why we have the action bundle. It comes with 2 studio cameras and a PTZ camera. It's kind of perfect for 2 presenters or 2 speakers if you were using those for the morning announcements. And then that bundle and that kit allows you to go anywhere in the classroom. And that's really the value. You don't have to just use this for morning announcements. You don't just have to use PTZ cameras for, your basketball games. You can mix and match. They're pretty small cameras. Like I said, you can just plug one cable in and move to a new location. And it's just allows for really flexible deployments. So if you want to use them for the morning announcements, you can do that, and you can easily move them outside for even like your graduation ceremonies. So a lot of
Yeah.
flexibility.
Yeah, exactly. That's the beauty of AV over IP in general, and PoEs especially as well.
Yep.
Is you can take that camera, and as long as you can connect it to the network, you can get power, video, and control to that, and you can send it all the way back to your control room. And if you have your switcher in that control room, doesn't matter as long as they're all on the same network. It's really smooth sailing.
Yeah,
You
that's
guys
right.
also had some exciting news that came out recently. So why don't you tell us about this? I'll give this to you.
Yeah, so HETMA, if you don't know who HETMA is, they're the Higher Education Technology Managers Alliance. So we are now HETMA approved across the majority of our products, like the SimpleTrack 3, which we'll talk about soon, and our fixed frame cameras and the Move 4K, and of course the Link, our Dante-enabled camera. So this is a big deal because they are a large institution. They mainly focus on higher education as it's listed in the name. So you're looking at more universities and colleges, but they are huge and important because they established the right technology for
Right.
education. So their approval is kind of a seal of approval, and it truly means a lot. There's no other organization like HETMA really in education, and they are the leaders in terms of technology and what should be adopted and what shouldn't be. So very proud to be HETMA approved.
And I think that you should be proud. Everything that we've talked about so far and everything that we will continue to talk about is reasons why you are HETMA approved. You guys really get, cost-effective products that are really easy to use, and they just work. You guys have a great warranty, and they're super high quality. So what's there to not like about PTZOptics? And another thing that is really nice to know and take advantage of is that on the Move 4K and the Link 4K, you guys even have voice tracking now. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. It's completely free. You don't need to download some additional software. You don't need to download or buy additional piece of hardware. As long as you have a supported microphone, which we have tons of partners like Sennheiser, Nariva, Audio Technica. Here we're showing off the Nariva hardware, which we have here mounted in our studio. And this allows us to either add one microphone or two microphones to cover a larger space. And the Nariva microphones, I think, are kind of perfect for this because they're mounted on the wall, and they would be able to essentially either send one camera from different presets depending on who's speaking in the room, or even switch between multiple presets. So you could either use hardware or even vMix like I'm using today to switch my cameras live, and that will allow you to basically, as soon as someone speaks in the room, the camera will know exactly either to switch to a preset or just to switch to that camera in something like vMix, OBS, or even a hardware partner of ours like InnoGenie.
Wow, that's really cool. We constantly keep saying throughout all of EduStream is making things easy for the educators so they can focus on teaching. I see this working very well in like those boardroom meetings, things like that, where you have the school board and they are being transparent and open to the public and having their meetings broadcast out on a Zoom call or maybe even a YouTube call, and that's one less thing that they have to worry about. As soon as they start talking, whoever on the board is talking, camera's going to cut to them or move to them automatically. I think that's
Yep.
fantastic. And this is just talking about somebody giving you guys, actually HETMA saying that they've seen cameras cost 2 to 3 times as much and not up to the quality of, in this example, the SimpleTrack 3, right?
Yeah, that is right. And that is an image of the SimpleTrack 3. I think it's a perfect transition into talking about dual lens cameras and our latest and greatest, which is the SimpleTrack 3. So this is the latest and greatest from PTZOptics. There's two different lenses actually built into this camera, as you can see on the slides there. So why do you need two lenses? That's a great question, you might ask. Well, one is your tracking lens. It's your barrel lens. So that is a 20x lens that allows you to really zoom in. You can see how far we are from the stage in this example. The wide angle view is a lot wider. It is 720p camera. You can output via NDI for both of these video feeds, but the wide angle view is really a reference view. It's taking in your entire space, trying to understand what it's seeing, and then making decisions based on your zones. So you can see the green box that's outlined there. And that is going to kind of allow you to make certain decisions, whether you want this camera to stop in a preset, whether you want to trigger an action, just like that. You can see as soon as Ashley stepped off the stage, the camera actually switched right back to a preset because Ashley walked out of the tracking zone. So it basically triggered a preset zone, which told the camera to go back to the auditorium or the podium in the auditorium. And this is an example of what you would use maybe in a graduation ceremony. So you have the speakers coming up, they're shaking someone's hand, and then they're walking off stage, and you want the camera to go right back to that same spot in the center of the stage. So this is just a quick demonstration, but really the power of the SimpleTrack 3 is that it's got our finest motors, it's got incredible auto tracking, and it's really just so easy to use and set up. So check out the SimpleTrack 3 if you haven't.
Definitely check out the SimpleTrack 3. We've seen some demos in person, and like you said, having that second lens on there, not only for the camera to know what's going on, but even people in the production room to have that confidence monitor of the entire stage is just good information to have.
That's right.
And then you can transition. We talked about this a little bit too, that you can move your cameras throughout the campus or the building and be able to connect them anywhere on the market, on the network. So you can go from a classroom to a basketball court and to the football field to do your student walks, right? And everything in between.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes it so easy to kind of just pick them up, whether you just have them on a tripod with wheels or you just want to set them up on a tripod for any kind of use case. Here's a perfect example for graduation and sports, I think, are the two that are just so easy to kind of roll into. And then we talked a little bit about, auditoriums and that kind of video production. So the next slide also kind of breaks down what it would look like for a larger workflow, whether you're streaming, recording, and combining all of them for one larger install.
So yeah, we briefly touched upon auditoriums, but this is more, like you said, a larger scale production. Can you kind of walk our viewers through the workflow diagram here?
Yeah, absolutely. So this would be an IP controlled setup here. So you have really three cameras. Most people will go with 30x in auditorium. They want to make sure they have the zoom and the optics there just in case they really need to zoom into something. We're showing off 12, 20, and 30 just to kind of show you all three models of the Move 4K in this instance. They're all controlled over the network. So just one cable for video and one cable for control and power. And then we have two different computers. One is basically allowing us to use and integrate like something like ProPresenter for graphics, and maybe that's your computer that's just kind of dedicated to maybe playing videos and graphics. And then you have a backup computer that's really your dedicated streaming computer with the high-end graphics card, and you're running vMix or OBS. And then you have even outputs. So you can use additional hardware or over the network, you can output directly to a television. So that would be either your confidence monitor that's local for the talent that's in the auditorium that needs to see themselves, or even outputting into like the observatory room or another room for the IT services, or even the lobby of your auditorium. And then in terms of control for all of these cameras, you of course have the SuperJoy or hardware controller, and then there's also mention of either Horizon with your smartphone or using our control app, which is an application you can download on the iOS app store.
That is fantastic. And to just piggyback off of that, just going off of how simple it is to have everything connected to the network, this exact workflow that you are walking through is exactly what we're using in our studio now. We have a computer that's running graphics. We have a couple Move 4Ks in here. We have two of them. We have a presentation on a laptop that's being used with NDI screen capture to put it onto our network to get into our production system. We have a confidence monitor. All of that stuff is being used in this room, and it's all being powered by a network switch. So really easy and simple to set up, a lot simpler than people may think that it is. And here is an example of that auditorium being in use with a PTZOptics camera.
That's right. And really, the last thing I wanted to talk about is kind of wrapping it all up and kind of looking into what this might look like if you were to not be in the auditorium or not be in a local space, right? So if you look into Hive Studio, you're able to now remotely control our cameras. So you can control more than just our cameras. It allows you to kind of connect and control them, but also now instantly go live or record directly from a series of different cameras. So that could be our cameras or other PTZ camera models out there on the market. We currently support over 400 different kind of make and models, all with custom drivers that are supported for these PTZ cameras. And this allows us to kind of go in, you can adjust the colors, and you can have all of your cameras really in one interface. So this makes it kind of easy to just jump in. You can start messing around with multiple different IP connected cameras. You can easily control them with our hardware, even with a game controller, for instance. So if
Yep.
you have kids in your school that want to get interested in cameras and robotics, there's nothing more than getting an Xbox controller or a game controller in a kid's hand and say like, yeah, you can control a camera with this. So like I've seen it happen in churches and schools. It blows their minds, whether it's a sports production, whether it's for the morning announcements, as we mentioned. Kids are getting more and more involved in production because productions are just growing across every industry. And education is also a space where they're constantly growing. So let me show you the side of Hive here, where I can kind of show you a little bit of what this looks like. You're seeing a black and white preview here. That's just a little fun effect I threw onto this camera. But you can see we have 4 different camera feeds we're bringing in, all from different angles. I have some little behind the scenes shots that you can see from us. But of course, you can full screen your video feeds. If you want to go in, you can actually use your mouse to control this really easily, to really zoom in nicely like that. You can see a little of the behind the scenes here.
Hmm.
You can see our beautiful red camera over here spinning on this display. And you can even like integrate something like the Superjoy here, which is this controller right here. And you can even go in and control your cameras that way as well. And here I even have the camera that I have auto tracking here, because you can actually turn on automation inside of Hive Studio and you can disable it as well in Hive Studio. So just kind of showing the versatility between switching between all of these cameras. Even have a fixed frame camera here that I've been talking to you through, James, all brought into Hive, so you can see the versatility really when it comes to a remote production.
That is really incredible to see. I say this every time that you give a demo for Hive Studio, but man, am I always impressed. One of my key takeaways from that specific example was how fast you were clicking between the cameras and then being able to see the changes that you were making. We
That's
know
right.
that it's all over the network, and sometimes people think, oh, well, the network's going to add latency. I think you just demoed that it really doesn't.
Oh yeah. I mean, we're local now, but even if you are not local to your network and you're using, cloud to access your cameras, it's extremely speedy. I mean, and that's the best part. You could try this for free today. If you go to PTZOptics.com or go to the Videoguys site, you can try any camera for free. Just one camera, you can bring it in and see what it's like and see if this is really an option for you. But I think as soon as you see how intuitive the whole UI is and how easy it is to just bring your camera in and control it, I think you're going to see that it's the right choice for your camera control.
I couldn't agree more. You guys are always pushing the boundaries when it comes to what you can do with PTZ cameras and control. You have a million different ways to control them with Horizon, with Hive, with Superjoy, with the Web GUI, with the phone and the controller. Sky's the limit when it comes to PTZ optics. John, I want to say thank you so much for joining us for EduStream. It's always great to have PTZ Optics on any of our shows. As always, I like to give our guest the last word, the final word, anything that you are looking forward to upcoming. Give us a sneak peek.
Oh, yes, there's a lot coming out later this year. So at NAB, we did a little preview. We had our PowerLink, which is a Wi-Fi 6 enabled device that allows you to actually put a V-mount battery right attached to it. It'll not only power your camera via PoE, but turn any IP device into a Wi-Fi 6 enabled device. So that's going to be coming out later this year. And also later this year, we're having a brand new camera, which is going to be very exciting because we are truly entering into the big higher end broadcast market. And stay tuned for that. We're going to announce more about that camera very soon. So a lot to come. And we're continuing to kind of grow here at PTZ Optics. So you'll see more of us very soon with some very exciting new announcements.
I am very excited to see this broadcast camera. You can best bet I'm going to be checking the PTZ Optics website very regularly to get more information on it. Again, thank you to John for joining us. Thank you to our viewers for sticking with us. We got some more great content coming up next.
Thank you.
Always great talking to John Roberts, talking about PTZ cameras, and they are continuously adding new things to Hive Studio. You can check out Hive Studio actually for free. You can get a little demo if you go to PTZ Optics website, and I believe that with one camera, you can control it for free to kind of just see how it works. And like John said, it's even compatible with a whole range of PTZ cameras, not just PTZ Optics. So even if you don't have a PTZ Optics camera, you can check that out. And I highly recommend that you do because it's really cool stuff. I saw that somebody asked a question about whether or not the Move 4K has NDI HX3, and the answer is yes. The Move 4K from PTZOptics does support NDI HX3. The Move SE technically also supports NDI HX3 as well. It didn't come with NDI when it came out. So with a firmware upgrade, which is free, you don't have to pay for it. If you get the camera, when you update it to the latest version, you will get the NDI capabilities with the Move SE as well, which is their 1080 cameras. In terms of microphones, I saw a couple different questions come in. We don't have a full show dedicated to audio, but what I will say is you can absolutely give us a call if you're looking to get more information on the audio tracking systems that work with something like the PTZOptics Move 4K. You can give us a call. You can reach out to us via email, and then we can get you in contact with John Roberts to find the right microphone for any given situation that you're in. So lots of resources that we can reach out to on your behalf if you just give us a call. Next up is an interview that Jim Bask did with Sam Avalone from NPI, talking about some of the recent case studies, recent installs that they have done. Sam Avalone is another local installer who can come in. He can, assess your specific school, make equipment recommendations, do the installation, and then do training for you and your staff to know how to operate the equipment going forward as well. So we're going to play that interview for you now.
Hey, this is Jim back at you with eduStreamTV. We are being joined today by one of our system integrators out of the Cleveland, Ohio area that is working with schools every day to help build broadcast production studios and other AV production needs. I am being joined by Sam Avalone from NPI. Hey, Sam, thanks for joining us.
How you doing, Adam? What's going on with you?
Not a lot. We are very happy to have you on the show today. I wanted to give you a moment to introduce yourself and NPI to our eduStream audience.
Sure. NPI Audio Solutions is a system integrator, staging rental company, and entertainment company based out of Cleveland, Ohio. I head up the sales division. Anything to purchase, whether it's a box sale or totally integrated system, comes from our division, the system division. We specialize in high quality broadcast systems, as well as any AVL, audio, video, or lighting, nationwide. Lots of schools, lots of corporate boardrooms, house of worship, are our main clients, but we do, again, everything from sound, video, streaming, and lighting.
And one of the reasons I wanted to make sure we gave you the opportunity to join us on the show is because I know NPI is working with higher ed schools, but also K through 12. You're working with primary, secondary, higher ed, pretty much every level of the school system everywhere along the way to handle some of their production needs, right?
That's correct. Absolutely. Yep.
Excellent. So we had the opportunity to talk to you about a few of the things that you were doing with NPI. Again, with event production, media production, system designs, and sales. And I wanted to talk to you specifically about some of the recent work you've been doing, one of which was with the great Groveport at Madison Broadcast Studio. Can you tell us a little bit about this project?
Groveport came to us and they really had an entry-level system. They wanted to be able to do broadcast multimedia curriculum using ND, and they also wanted to be able to do the basketball games, performing arts center, and football stadium productions. And we showed them using MDI that they could have one broadcast studio, and the only thing that would go out to the other venues was our portable NDI rack. Our portable NDI rack takes audio, video, and intercom and converts it to one Cat6 cable. They plug into the school network. So now it transfers all the way back to the broadcast studio, And in the broadcast studio, they'll switch the game, do the instant replay, highlight reels, ads, sponsors, whatever, and send it back to the stadium to go on the video board in real time, simultaneously while they're web streaming and recording and broadcasting to any other device that's on the network. Maybe they have confidence monitors in the lobby or concession stand monitors or classroom or the principal's office. Anybody on the network can see that broadcast and can also send information from that venue back to the broadcast studio. So it's a two-way system.
And that's what I love hearing is in talking about the two-way system, that portable production rack that you're talking about can be located wherever the sporting event is. I'm sure the theater in the school can have access to it. You could bring it into a lecture or even a school board meeting if they wanted to use that production system and still not change the actual production itself from that studio control room. Is that correct?
That's correct. Everything stays in the control room. The only thing that would move if they had live man cameras is the camera operators and the portable NDI rack. In this case, at Groveport, we hung 4 PTZ cameras in the gym, 4 PTZ cameras in the studio, and they have 7 portable man cameras when they do football.
Oh, wow.
But robotically, there's nobody in the gym or the Performing Arts Center when they do a production. They're all in the studio.
And that's the great thing about the NDI network, any AV over IP system, is you get all of those sources available to that broadcast control room at any time, right?
That's correct.
And then
Absolutely.
you also talked about the distribution. So now that broadcast control room not only has the flexibility of bringing in all of those different camera sources you mentioned, but it also has flexibility from the distribution side by going back out to the LED display wall, to live streaming out to the audience watching at home. So they have that production capabilities of sending that show anywhere their audience could be as well, right?
That's correct. Yeah. And that's the beauty of it. It's, it used to be in the old days, they'd have a separate AV system for each location.
Sure.
Let's say in this case, 4 different locations. Now they buy one base broadcast studio, and the only thing that moves is the cameras. And
That's phenomenal.
The
And that is the biggest thing about these network is when you get your camera sources, you get your broadcast studio control room, you get everything integrated onto the network itself. It gives you complete flexibility of your independent video sources coming into that control room and the control signal going out, whether it's over the web, whether it's to display signage, LED strobe boards, you name it. You have all of that routing capability right within that production studio itself.
That's correct. And the other thing about
Yeah,
it
go
is,
ahead.
The live production has a whole live production industry has taken a whole new turn with NDI and video over IP. I mean, it's no longer limited to certain amount of feet for cabling and broadcasting and all that. And what I would say, I think the 2 biggest leaders in that in terms of production equipment would be VizRT, the old New Tech company.
Yep.
And then also for those that more are on a budget, the vMix solution. Those 2 are probably the biggest 2 that we use.
And it's funny, I see in a lot of the case studies you share with us that there is a TriCaster system installed somewhere in that rack. You get a lot of that capability. VizRT is doing a ton, not only with the live production, but with the graphic solutions available for sports broadcasting and other parts of academic. They've also led the way in some of the remote contribution, allowing you to bring remote guests into your production system, announcing at NAB some of their really tight integration with Zoom, which I know is another technology that is used a lot in the education space.
Correct.
So, Sam, I wanted to shift gears to another case study that you worked on recently at Steubenville High School. Can you tell us a little bit about how this studio came about and what maybe some of the similarities and differences are with Groveport?
Steubenville High School was a customer of ours years ago. We built them a portable AV flight pack. Everything was in road cases, and they would take it out and do a football game. Then they'd take it out and go to the gym and do their basketball or school board meeting, but it was, 185-pound rack with equipment.
The good old days.
Oh yeah. Excuse me. And then they'd have portable monitors, and it was a lot of lugging around. Well, they came back to us, this is years later, and said they were building this new STEM building and wanted to put a broadcast studio in the STEM building using NDI, so they didn't have to lug equipment around anymore. So they're doing the same thing that Groveport's doing, where there's a main broadcast studio, and then the only thing that goes out to the venue are the cameras, and they broadcast back to the studio, and all the switching and graphics and instant replay is all done in the studio, and then sent back over the school network to the venue to either watch the broadcast or record it or go live on the video board simultaneously.
So, Sam, I think one of the ongoing things that we see here is that these schools are putting a big priority on bringing these tools in for students to have access to and to use. We talk about this being built into the STEM program and in a new STEM building, and I think that's a recurring theme that we hear over and over again. How could we prepare our students to use the tools that broadcasters and live event producers are using out in the real world? I'm sure that's something that NPI gets asked all the time, right?
Absolutely. And when we design a system, we design for that in mind. These kids are going to be working with real world equipment that they're going to go out in the industry, whether they go to college or they go to a job right out of high school, they will know how to work this equipment. I'll give you an example. We had one of our high school students that we had a system built for that graduated high school, went to Ohio State. As a freshman, became the lead of the BTN network down there because he already knew how to work the TriCaster, already knew how to work the 3-play system because he'd been working on it for 4 years at his high school. So it's a real world application that we're showing these kids.
That's great. Go Buckeyes. I have a kid there myself. I'm giving plenty of support to the Ohio State University. So, Sam, I know in working with Steubenville High School, Groveport, Madison, all of the experience you have in working with the schools, you're going to hear the same challenges, the same questions, the same solutions pop up over and over again. If you had to really boil it down for our audience who's tuned in today, what would be one of the top pieces of advice that you would give a school looking to make an investment in a production system?
I would say, knowing that the education market, whether it's K through 12 or higher ed, is very budget conscious. And a lot of times you want to do this stuff in phases. And maybe they don't have the budget to do everything at once. My advice is, whatever you buy it right the first time in phase 1, get the right equipment, so that when you go to phase 2, you're adding and you're not rebuying something because it was only temporary till you got to phase 2. Buy the right equipment first, and then as you add on functionality and add on features, you're still using the base system that you bought originally and don't have to replace it. For budget
Absolutely.
people,
I think we call that land and expand, right? You want to make sure you get the landed equipment that has that upgradability. And I think that's, to your point that you made a moment ago, that's where the NDI network can really contribute to that, because you can expand it to add all of these different input and even output distribution models, right?
correct. Absolutely.
That's great. And if you're looking to make the investment in the right equipment right from the beginning, you're going to reach out to a system integrator who is certified, trained, and has the experience in working with these live production systems and setting up broadcast studios in schools. You can reach out to Sam and his team at NPI on their website at npiav.com. I have their website and phone number here up on the screen. Sam is happy to help schools work through all of their challenges and build a broadcast studio that'll work today and well into the future. Sam, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Adam. Tell everybody at the team I said hi.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Ryan, I couldn't agree more. Do it right the first time. Okay, so thank you so much to Sam for joining us to talk about that installation that they did. We are running a little bit short on time, so we're just going to get right into our next video with Judy Zhou from Kiloview talking about all of their AV over IP management equipment. Let's play that video for you now. Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us for another segment of eduStreamTV, where we're talking about live streaming capabilities in educational spaces. I'm really excited to be joined by Judy from Kiloview to tell us all about their solutions, and we're going to talk about some workflow examples, and we're even going to talk about some case studies. Hey, Judy, how are you doing today?
Hi, James. I'm quite good after the successful maybe show.
I am very glad to hear that. So why don't you do us a favor and introduce yourself and Kiloview to our audience?
Yeah, sure. So for Kiloview, we are a provider of the AV over IP solutions that specialize for video audio transmission and management. And what we would like to highlight is our achievements in the NDI ecosystem. So for Kiloview, we are really the NDI ecosystem leader on this market. Actually, Kiloview is the first one to start doing the NDI hardware products, especially the NDI converters on this market. And also after 10 years, working closely with the NDI ecosystem right now, we have built a complete workflow covering from the, capture, for video encoding, decoding, transmission, and also like the management, recording, multi-view, a very complete NDI ecosystem that can fit into quite a lot of the applications, and especially for for campus parts. That's also a very perfect solution, as most of the time it will be for the local network. And of course, for Kiloview, we provide every product. The purpose is to provide a kind of affordable solution, easy to use, and always very very easy to start with.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree with that more. We're big fans of the Kiloview encoders and decoders, and a lot of them have, a nice little screen on them that will tell you if it's in encode mode or decode mode. It'll tell you the web GUI. You can, even factory reset it and get through some of the menus right on the encoder and decoders themselves. You really do make it super easy. Can you
Yeah.
kind of walk us through very quickly through what Kiloview offers, and then we'll get into some more specific workflows?
Yeah. So yeah, from this slide, you probably can see quite a lot of the information, but actually, just simple words you just remember for the whole workflow, no matter what kind of video sources, what kind of circumstances you are trying to capture the video, and also you want to centralizedly manage routing, sending to different destinations for either recording for production and also getting it back to the baseband for display, then just turn to Kiloview. We have almost everything here.
No, you really do have a solution for every piece of the workflow. Now, you mentioned
Yeah.
that Kiloview is kind of leading the way in NDI. Let's assume that some of our viewers don't know what NDI is. Can you give us just a high-level overview of what NDI is?
So, everyone probably have heard a little bit about NDI, but if you have never used or started with NDI, then NDI is just the network device interface. And in simple words, just use your network, even the existing network cable, but inside of the local network environment, you will be able to just automatically discover all the video sources available in the network. And also it's just plug and play with super high quality, low latency. And already, as we mentioned, NDI has been on this market for more than 10 years. And already NDI has a very big ecosystem that's no matter you are just trying to transmit the video or you want to do a kind of like professional high quality production, or even you want to do the live streaming cross network, then NDI will be happy to provide everything you need.
I couldn't agree more. NDI really is starting to become like the standard, and even in a lot of places, baseband is still relevant, but like a lot of places are starting to use NDI because you can distribute that video on the network in a local building and now even across multiple buildings and campuses. So we talked about NDI in general, but why should people consider using NDI in education specifically?
Yeah, so this is really a very good topic. As previously we have already mentioned a little bit, I think for NDI, the biggest advantage is its connectivity. So as you also mentioned, it's not just for local network, but it can also be like cross different buildings, cross campus. So for the connectivity parts, NDI is, with the NDI connectivity, there is no more isolated in any of the either physical or any of the buildings or whatever rooms. Then it can be, connected as long as the network is accessible. And also, as we mentioned, NDI is based on network that is very easy and very flexible. You can scale up, or you can just build a large scale, smaller scale. And also, we previously mentioned NDI is just plug and play. So for all the even the education industry, for the schools or all those users, even they don't really have a lot of the skills, that it's very easy to start with. And also, we previously mentioned India has the ecosystem, so it's not just like I need to spend a lot of money to build my system, but India also provide a lot of the tools, even the free tools, or a lot of the software ready solutions that can help you to do the production, do the streaming, or just simply routing the signals or sending the signals, transmit the signals across different rooms or campuses or whatever. And also, we mentioned NDI is high quality, low latency, but overall, we have to say NDI is a very cost-effective solution for this education space.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. You're talking about making things easy, and Kiloview and NDI does make putting video on the network and ingesting it into whatever recording or streaming platform you're going to use. And at the end of the day, we want to make things as easy as we can for educators. Educators should focus on teaching. They shouldn't also need to worry about having a background in video. And NDI and Kiloview really does make it easy for them to just focus on teaching. Now, we're going to talk about some of the different ways that Kiloview has solutions in the educational market, right?
Yeah. So as we previously already talked a lot about NDI, so here what we are going to highlight is how NDI, or the Kiloview's NDI solutions, could help and fit into different scenarios. And here, what we would like to highlight is one of the reason we highlighted here for the studios, for the auditorium rooms, and also some of the sports streaming solutions is actually NDI is more for like live production, because it's quite kind of a good solution based on its features, as we mentioned, high quality, low latency, and also it's just get the metadata, PTZ control, and everything all in one. So what here we highlighted is how we'll be able to help the education users to easily start up with NDI, but still bring the high quality contents, streaming, sharing, and also doing everything, but with a very we have to say very very reasonable, or we have to say the low cost the solutions. So what we have here is like for the studios. Yeah, solution one is about our solutions for the studios. So I think almost every campus, every school, they probably have those kind of TV stations. Either is just to share the news, or if there's any events or anything to share inside of the school or the university. So always for the professional, high quality production scenarios, there will always be like different camera sources. They can be captured with our, we have to say our encoders, or if they already like get some kind of the PTZ cameras which can automatically output NDI. And with Kiloview solution, you can easily bring everything, convert everything into NDI, even if it's just for the field video streaming. Then from our side, from Kiloview side, we can also directly output NDI sources. And if you would like to like easily routing the signals into different destinations, either for production, for live streaming inside of the campus, or sharing online, or you just want to record it for post-production, or even if it's just for live production and also record for further like profile or whatever, then for this kind of solutions and based with NDI is always very flexible. Sources can be all connected, and using here from the workflow, you can see just like our QSYS that will be easily getting everything together, sending to different destinations, and also will provide all those kind of either recording solution, multi-view solution, or even if you want to bring back to the baseband production systems, everything is possible.
That is fantastic. And because you went over that so well, I'm going to not give much input, and we're just going to move on to the second solution for auditoriums and lecture halls. These would free for like your, your graduations and your class captures, things like that.
Yeah, so I think inside of the schools or universities, there are always like this kind of we say lectures or some kind of events that probably you will have like larger scale for like video sources from different cameras, multiple cameras. Well, if there's any kind of like summits or some kind of things, you will even need to do a little bit live production to getting graphics and all those things together. And also if it's really important or kind of events that you would like simultaneously spread out for across different rooms, sending to the classrooms and all those different scenarios, then NDI will also be perfect solution. We will be able to capture every video signals, or even if it's just from your laptop with the presentation, or any of the fixed cameras using like the PTZ cameras with NDI, and everything can be transmitted and routed, and also after the live production, sending out the live NDI program signals. And also, as long as we mentioned, NDI can seamlessly routing through the network, the local network, then for either just for preview or distribute inside of the full campus, or if it's just for live streaming, going through like YouTube or whatever, then through what you can see here from the sources to the production part, and also sending to different destinations is so easy. And also, with Kiloview solution, you will be able to easily centralizely manage all those sources, and overall, just simply use like our AVX Media Hub or the QSYS or all those kind of devices. Very easily you can set up solution and can realize the high quality production, live production events.
Yeah, absolutely. Kiloview really does have a solution for your input, your processing and routing, and then also for your output, whether it's in a local venue or, even possibly going to both in iMag in the local room as well as out to the internet, whether it's YouTube or Twitch or whatever it may be. And then let's talk about some sporting events, especially in high schools and college level. We know that sporting events, football, basketball, baseball, are very important. So can you kind of walk us through an example of this sporting workflow?
Yeah, so we know, especially in the US, probably sports in the schools are super important and very popular. So even in our solution one, we have already mentioned a little bit, even for just like the studio solutions, you can easily connect the field video signals into the studio for production. But most of the time, even if it's just for live sports, so for example, if it's just like the marathon or, some kind of the live events or any kind of the shows, as you mentioned, like the basketball, the football, whatever. So for the on-site fields, the video signal sharing, so what we actually can provide is our wireless
Yep.
cellular bonding encoders that can help you using, like, it's not really you need to be fixed the cameras somewhere or you need to have a fixed network transmission, but we can go anytime anywhere using the cellular wireless network. Well, also we'll be able to combine with the fixed the video sources, but everything can be sending through the cloud service or the network, and can easily either directly streaming to the YouTube or those kind of platforms, or you will be able to getting it back to the studios and bring it back to SDI or those kind of baseband production systems after production. So either you can use this as the field contribution, or you can directly using it for the streaming. And same as what we mentioned for the studio applications, you can go through the same way for production, or even after production using our either the P3 or the P3 Mini for on-site streaming, or you can use any of our other devices to get it back to the HDMI for display or for multi-view for recording. So there will be quite a lot of the flexible solutions, but overall for sports, for those kind of the events production, what we would like to highlight is anytime, anywhere. There is no limits, and also always very flexible.
I couldn't agree more. And I think this slide in particular does talk about that very well, because you have not only wired connection capabilities, but you also have wireless capabilities, like you said, with the P3 and the P3 Mini. And speaking of the
Yeah.
P3 and P3 Mini, I think our viewers are fairly familiar with traditional encoders and decoders. Can you give us a quick overview of the P3 and the P3 Mini? What is the P3?
Yeah, so the P3 and the P3 Mini actually is our wireless bonding encoders. So what means what it means for the bonding actually is to use multiple network connection. So it's not just rely on single network. If one single network connection is not reliable, then probably sometimes the streaming will not really be good quality. But what we do with the bonding technology is we will combine quite a few multiple network using the bandwidth, and we combine them together to making the bandwidth to be much better, and making sure the video transmission more reliable. So for the P3 and the P3 Mini, both of the units actually are using the bonding technology, and the difference actually is the P3 can be up to 4K with HDMI, and also takes 4 channels of either 4G or 5G network plus Wi-Fi plus Ethernet, and the P3 Mini actually can take 3 channels of the 4G network signals plus Wi-Fi and Ethernet, and both of the units actually can be battery powered, which means you can move freely. So we can say streaming anytime, anywhere. And both of the units also can be, either directly or going through our cloud bonding clouds, or the bonding devices to actually output all kinds of the IP protocols. Either is NDI, as we always highlight the NDI capabilities in the ecosystem for production, or direct streaming through RTMP and all those things. So that's what we would like to always highlight and also recommend, the P3 and the P3 Mini.
Absolutely, we want to highlight the P3 and the P3 Mini. And I know a little bit of a spoiler, we're going to talk about the Kiloview station in a minute here too. But before we get to that, I also want to highlight the Cradle series with the RFO2. Again, if our viewers are familiar with like the N50 and N60 encoders and decoders, they're single channel encoder and decoders. But Kiloview said, hey, what if you're using multiples of these and you want to have them all in one confined space? And that's why they made the RFO2. Can you tell us a little bit about the RFO2?
Yeah, definitely. So the RFO2 is like a kind of a media platform that's it will be able to take all kinds of, as you mentioned, N50 and 60, or those kind of NDI or SRT encoding, decoding cards, but not just the N50 and N60. Right now, we have a series of the cards, including like our FN7, FN8, also for SRT, NDI, and also we have those kind of transcoding cards for cross conversion between different types of the IP protocols, well as all those kind of like the compute card can all fit into this platform. And the biggest advantage using the RFO2 is, first, it's very high density. So which means within a 2 RU form factor, you will be able to plug up to 18 cards inside of it. Plus, it has a network module inside. So all those 18 cards will all through the internal network module. So that means less cables, less configuration, easy to start up. And also, we also put a kind of like centralized management platform. So you will be able to centralizedly manage all those 18 cards inserted. And since the P3, P3 Mini are also, on the same page, then you can also use the RFO2 and together with our media gateway cards to do the bonding service for the P3 and the P3 Mini as well. So that means, inside of the campus or for your studio or your auditorium room, so you simply just need to put the RFO2 inside, get whatever the encoding, decoding cards. And if you have the field contribution, field production, or the field streaming requirements, then also you can simply just connect the P3, P3 Mini with the RFO2.
That is great to hear. Now, we mentioned the Kiloview station a little bit as well. Can you kind of walk us through a workflow with the Kiloview station?
Yeah, so the Kiloview station actually is a turnkey solution for both the bonding, receiving, as well as the device management. So from the workflow, you probably can see, you can easily get our P3, the P3 Mini, connecting to the Kiloview station, which will providing the bonding services, and also it can output SDI for the traditional SDI production systems, while at the same time, the Kiloview station can also directly live streaming to the YouTube through RTMP, or it can also go for the remote transmission through SRT. And at the same time, as we mentioned, the Kiloview station also sees as the centralized device management platform. So even in the studio, if you also have our NDI converters or any of the decoders, then the Quicklink station will also be working as a kind of centralized management platform. And for the bonding parts, that means you don't need to subscribe, you don't need to pay extra cost. So overall, this is a kind of a perfect solution, cost effective and also quite a lot of different features fitting different scenarios.
Absolutely. And then the last product that I think we're going to talk about is the AVX24-4, which, by the way, congratulations to taking home a couple awards from NAB for this product. Can you tell us a little bit about the new and exciting AVX24-4 Media Hub?
Yeah, sure. So we are really, really excited for the award. And the AVX Media Hub is actually what we designed, especially for the NDI workflows. So the core idea, just briefly talking about this product, is just trying to bridge the gap of AV and IT. So especially for the education scenarios, the users probably are not really a professional ITs, skilled people. And then with the AVX Media Hub, we can actually visualize everything to make sure you have the confidence, you see all the network, all the NDI signals, if it's good, if it's not, and through very intuitive way, either from the front panel or from our GUI, the web UI, you can get all the status clearly. And also, as we mentioned, for the either studio or the auditorium rooms across the campus, if you want to routing the signals across, then the AVX can also work as a NDI router for quite a lot of the NDI signals in and out to control the signals, while at the same time we make NDI more reliable based on the AVX to next level. So based on the AVX, we actually got NDI prioritized in the network. So even if you got any kind of traffic network, then based on our products, NDI can always be going through smoothly. Plus, we even added quite a lot of the features for high level of the the production for like the PTP synchronization, etc. So yeah, this is actually we say the AVX is specially designed for the NDI workflow and also making everything more reliable and easy to use.
I couldn't agree more. You can connect all of your NDI devices together and that it will act as, like you said, that centralized media hub for all of your NDI products, and not even Kiloview products, but like PTZ cameras and things like that. So that is really good to hear. Now, Judy, we are running a little bit compressed on time. Sorry. So we have some case studies here, and I'm going to ask for you to just do a high-level overview of these case studies. And if our viewers want to learn more, they can head on down to the link on the screen now to see about those. So can you tell us about WVU Sports, their challenges, and then what Kiloview did?
Yeah, so the WVU actually, they would like to capture the signals in, first of all, they need a very cost-effective solution, while also they want to do the mobile streaming in the stadium, the sports venue. So previously, they are also quite worried about if there are crowded crowds when they do the streaming. So they also need very reliable transmission. And then what we have them is also based on our P3 and sending to their production systems using our decoder. So it's very simple workflow, but the result is always very good, very reliable, and also they just spend quite a low budget, but they did what they need. So yeah, this is actually what we would like to highlight. So for universities or any of the sports applications, if they also have this kind of request, then the P3. And right now we have the Quicklink station, which is actually a new product. Then this would always be a very perfect match.
No, I couldn't agree more. And like you said it's a simple solution, but sometimes that's what people want. People want the simple solution, and when they go to Kiloview, they get a simple solution that, like you said, is extremely reliable. So I'm glad that this was able to work with the P3 and the Kilolink server. Can you tell us a little bit about this school and their NDI usage in Beijing?
So yes, so this is also a very typical application in the modern campus. So for what we did for this primary school is what they want to not really getting the signals isolated, but they want to do the video and everything distribution across the whole campus, so everything could be interconnected. Well, when we design a system for them, they also would like to receive a very cost-effective solution while very flexible. So overall, what we have them is to build a kind of NDI-based, the signal distribution, either from the auditorium rooms, from the classrooms, or even the lecture rooms. So any of the signals inside of the whole campus in this school, everything can easily routing, sending to any destination. While also they would like to simultaneously sending across different classrooms, different destinations, and we put a media gateway in the middle to do those kind of distribution. Actually can help them to save quite a lot of the cost. So from this workflow, you probably can see sources coming from could be any place, while also for the production and distribution systems based on NDI, based on and they can simultaneously do the recording and distributing to anywhere. So it's a very typical, I think, for the, I would say, the modern, the latest design for the universities, which can actually be very efficient and very flexible. While this is also very typical based on all the features, all the we say the benefits based on NDI, everything can be cross the whole network, flexible, and also very easy to routing cross the network, scalable. So yeah,
No,
if you
absolutely,
want to,
Judy.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
I like that at the beginning of the show, we talked about what NDI is, how NDI is used in education. We talked about some hypothetical workflows. Then we talked about some of your products. And now we're actually talking about real world case studies where we're talking about those hypothetical workflows and they're actually being used in real world applications. And I think that is great to talk about. Judy, can you tell us some of the reasons that why Kiloview stands out? We've talked about a lot already, but why Kiloview?
yeah. From the slide, you probably can see we have already said, for all our products, we design to actually help our users easy to set up, and also making sure everything is reliable, very cost effective, and also based on what we provide the solutions is always scalable for either, as we said, the simple, very simple workflow, even it's just one camera for the streaming, or very large scale applications across the campus or across all different rooms. So overall, we have to say Kiloview has quite a lot of the experience providing the NDI solutions all over these years, and globally we have a lot of the case studies. Users have already, everything has been proved. So that's why you can trust Kiloview.
I could not agree more. Judy, I want to say thank you so much for talking us through all of these different Kiloview products and workflows, teaching our viewers about NDI and why it's so great in educational markets. Again, thank you so much for joining us. If you guys have any questions, you can reach out to us. You can reach out to Kiloview. And thank you for joining us. We'll see you on our next segment.
Thank you, James. Thank you, everyone.
All right. Thank you. Thanks to Judy for joining us and talking all about the Kiloview products. They really do have a solution for every part of the workflow for distributing your video across the network. Brian, you asked a really great question about what is the decoding latency of NDI-HX2, and of course that is going to vary between every single network and every single camera or encoder or decoder that you're using in that application. Typically, there are three flavors of NDI that are primarily used. You have your full bandwidth NDI, you have NDI-HX2, and you have NDI-HX3. Full bandwidth NDI is going to be used in those environments where you need to have the most minimal amount of latency. Typically with full bandwidth NDI, you are getting an uncompressed video feed. So your camera doesn't need to compress the file, and then once it gets to its destination, it doesn't need to be uncompressed. That is really important, especially if you're going to be doing a lot of post-production work. With full bandwidth, you have the lowest amount of latency, which is typically going to be about 1 frame of delay, but it's going to use the most amount of bandwidth on your network. You know, if you're in a 1 gig network environment and you're using full bandwidth NDI at, let's say, 4K 60, I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but you're looking around between 200 and 300 megabits per second. And if you're on a 1 gig network, that means you can only have maybe 3 or 4 cameras on your network before you're pushing the limit of your network. So that's when the NDI team made NDI HX and HX2. HX1 is not used pretty much at all anymore. NDI HX2 says we're going to compress that file as much as we can with still making it look good, but it's going to use the least amount of bandwidth possible. So to get a 4K 60p stream, it's way less. I don't know what the number is off the top of my head, but we're looking at like 50 megabits per second on your network. So if you're using a 1 gig network, now you can easily get 10 cameras onto your network. That's also if you're not doing anything else on your network. NDI HX3 came along, and that is kind of like the Goldilocks between full bandwidth and NDI HX2. So NDI HX3 is still compressed, but it's not as compressed. So it's still going to add a little bit of latency, typically between 50 and 80 megabits per second of delay. So you're going to notice a frame or two, but it's going to have less compression than NDI HX2, so it will look a little bit better. To the naked eye, you probably won't notice the difference between any of these in terms of the compression, but if you're going to be doing post-production work, obviously you want to go with full bandwidth if you can, and then NDI HX3 would be your next best option. I hope that answers your question. I know a little bit into that. If you have more questions or anyone has any questions, you can give us a call and I'd be happy to talk more. I want to say thank you to everybody for joining us today. We do have a couple case studies that we're going to play after this, but then that is it for today. We will be back here on Crowdcast tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow.
What were the challenges you were facing, and what kind of prompted you into revamping your classrooms and your spaces?
So one thing that one way that PTZOptics played into that was you all embraced the on the camera side Dante AVH. So we had a very large Dante deployment on campus. We used Dante Domain Manager, you know, all the fun stuff like that. So with PTZOptics having that technology option and also having at a fantastic price point and great image quality, it was kind of a no-brainer when we were doing equipment selections to move to that camera move to your all's camera models.
What has your experience been so far?
It's been great. I guess the best part about it is that cameras require very little lift when it comes to onboarding. With the PTZOptics models that we're using, it's the Link 4Ks. The second that we plug them in, they immediately start talking on the network, and it's a very light lift and light touch for us to be able to get those spun up and working.
getting less equipment?
So I mean, it's twofold for us. One, it's less pieces of hardware that we have to buy. So for example, we're using a virtualized control system on campus. So that way the brains of the room are set back in a data center. But in the lectern itself, we're just, we kind of look at those as edge devices on a network. So the smaller and more compact that we can get things, the easier it is for troubleshooting and also for our buying cycles. It just makes things easier across the board. Plus, if there is a failure, it truly is just, pulling one small piece of equipment out of a lectern, plugging it in and getting the network dialed up on it, and it automatically comes back on.
So, what has your experience been with implementation and then post sale?
Truthfully, PTZOptics has been one of the easier vendors. Just you put it in and it works, and the solution's been really solid. There's other things that we're doing that it can be a little bit more challenging from a networking perspective, but we have yet really to see a blip. BC, do you recall any any real blips getting the systems installed and up and running?
No, I said a little earlier, I was like, it's been fantastic. It's the cameras that we've been using, you just plug them in and they work, which, I know we're always pressing Michael's team to move faster, move faster, move faster in the summer. So anything that can be done to make those projects actually move faster is much appreciated.
How's PTZOptics been post sale?
So I know for us, we haven't had to engage too much, but the few times that my engineering team has had to engage with PTZOptics, they say that it's been a great experience. The turnaround on information has been fast and efficient. They've gotten the answers they needed, and it's been accurate, and it's helped us get our problems resolved. So post sales, I would say you guys are checking all the boxes there as well.
I would echo that as well. Occasionally run into circumstances where, hey, we've got a device is not operating properly. Maybe we need some support on the back end to get it up and running, or hey, we just got something that's not, it's DOA. I don't know that that's happened, but it feels like our resolution, if we have any issues, is fast, which is what we're after. We're not having to, chase you guys down to get support. It's like in a lot of cases working with the account team, Brandy, you and your team, we're escalating quickly. We've got clear, clean paths to tech support. And if we do need a part or a piece replaced, it's generally done in an expeditious fashion.